All right, and welcome back to a 43rd of Foot and 2nd PA instructional video where I'm going to show you how to clean a musket after an event with an added twist. It'll be done in an apartment, and if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. So first, the items that you'll need. As always, I will be including links to these in the description below. First, you'll need your sergeant's 3-way tool or a flathead screwdriver, a cleaning rod kit that comes in 2 packages because you need to get 4 pieces in order to reach down the bottom of the barrel, a cleaning screw for a 12-gauge shotgun, and 4 cleaning swabs also for a shotgun. And then we have our chemicals: Barkeeper's Friend for metal surfaces, Brasso for the brass fittings, and boiled linseed oil for the stock. Finally, gun oil, hops number 9, a small bottle with a little needle on the top for close oiling, as well as a bottle of just oil. Let's get started. First things first, throw that towel down. Whoever you live with will thank you for it. Set your gun down, lock down, and go ahead and take your flathead screwdriver or sergeant's tool and unscrew those 2 screws on the back of the gun. And for a handy tip, I like to keep the screws exactly in the position that they are on the gun, so I put them in the brass fitting and set it off to the side. Next step, take a wet paper towel or a rag and wipe away that powder residue around the touch hole. Then just be sure to wipe it dry with the dry side of the rag or paper towel that you have. Next up, take apart that flintlock, put it at half cock, flip it over, and unscrew it with your flathead screwdriver or sergeant's tool. Now take your lock parts and run it under some very hot water. My sink runs pretty hot, so this is near boiling, but I can still hold on to it. Make sure that your water is hot enough so that you can get rid of all that grime and residue that's built up. Another tip, once you set your items aside, I would go ahead and wipe those down almost immediately, just so that you don't have any rust specks that begin to form as soon as the water starts to dry off. And one more tool for indoor cleaning, a bucket. This is what you're going to use to collect all of your powder residue, as well as a place to dump all your black powder water that you're going to pour out of your musket. It'll enable you just to quickly and easily pour all that stuff away at once and minimize the amount of drops that you're tracking across your living space. Now we're moving to the actual musket barrel cleaning. We're going to take that cleaning rod and attach the wire screw to the end of it. That's your cleaning brush. Okay, go get rid of that ramrod. We don't need them right now. Now, take that screw-attached cleaning rod and go all the way down the barrel. Make sure you don't twist or bend that rod. Just push it all the way down. It's going to feel very snug. As you pull it out, it's best to do that over the top of a bucket because residue does come out when that screw comes out. Then flip the gun over, pour all that residue that got loose out into the bucket, keep tapping the butt until everything has come out. Repeat this about 3 times or however many times you need before residue stops coming out significantly. Now my least favorite part, we waterboard the best. Go ahead and plug that touch hole with your thumb. That is not my hand. Then I have my sink already running where I've gotten the water very, very hot. Either use near boiling or boiling if you're bold enough, and fill the barrel until water starts coming out of the top. Make sure you pour off just a little excess. Go ahead and cover the top with your hand and swish the water back and forth. Once the butt of the gun is in the air, I'm taking my thumb off the touch hole, and once the muzzle is in the air, I'm taking my hand off the muzzle to let the water actually swish back and forth. Do that a few times, and then pour the excess water into your bucket. Note that I let it pour for a bit first, and then I take my thumb off the touch hole to really let the water rip. Repeat the waterboarding until the water comes out clear. Then set the musket aside, muzzle down on a towel in order to let it dry. Bonus points if you can get it sat in the sun or outside so that the barrel heats up and thus dries quicker. Leave the gun drying there for at least 30 minutes. Then take your first cleaning swab and screw it onto your cleaning rod. Then put that swab down the barrel. The idea here is that we're going slow enough to actually get all the moisture from within the barrel out, absorbed by the cleaning swab. Don't be alarmed if that swab comes out pretty grimy. Do this 2 more times for a total of 3 times for 3 swabs. Finally, we're going to take that 4th clean swab and take the Hops lubricating gun oil and coat the swab with it. You can be pretty generous because this swab is pretty absorbent, but just make sure it's quite oily. Another pro tip, just before you put the swab in, hold a paper towel around the mouth of the barrel. It'll catch the excess oil. Coat the inside of the barrel nice and slowly with that oil. Alright, the chemical chapter. First thing, a bowl, any will do. And then, barkeeper's friend. Please note, if you have a shiny musket that you do not want to tarnish, this will take the shine out of the gun. It will remove blemishes, but also the shine. So take a little bit of powdering just like that, and just add a splash of water. Please also note that you don't have to do the chemical chapter every time. You can skip this and go right to the oiling part at the end of this video. If you've stuck with me to do the chemicals, use this other pro tip. Wear rubber gloves. Your skin will thank you. Now take a rag or a folded up piece of paper towel and smush that powder into the water till you make a nice paste. Then apply the paste in a nice thin coat across the entire barrel. Let that paste sit on there for like 15 seconds. Trust me, this chemical eats. Then, taking a fresh paper towel and some elbow grease, just use friction and power to get all of that residue off of the barrel, and you'll have a bright new shiny barrel. Now, the one downside to Barkeeper's Friend is that it also eats at the wood, as you can see here. So it bleaches it a little bit, so the way to counteract that is by using this boiled linseed oil. So go ahead and throw a little dollop of this boiled linseed oil on a rag or a paper towel, fold it so that you can actually use the paper towel, and smear it in where it needs to be. Let it sit for about 20 minutes, and then just rub it off with a fresh paper towel, and it'll be good as new. And our last chemical is Brasso. Just put a same little dollop on a piece of paper towel and apply it to the brass fittings that you want to see shine to their original glory. After about 15 to 30 minutes, you'll see that the Brasso has hardened and turned blue. That means it's ripe to be brushed off of the brass, and then you'll have your original fittings back in good working order. Okay, home stretch. Take a piece of paper towel or a rag, coat it with that gun oil, and smear the length of your barrel. We're not trying to saturate the barrel here, but we are just trying to get a good, nice, even glaze down the length of the barrel. If you have an event in like a week's time, you really probably don't need to do this, but I always just like to, just to avoid any sort of rust or blemishes. And the same deal for the lock. We're going to give it a nice oil glaze, fight off any of that rust or blemishes from forming. And I want to emphasize this here. I am just putting a very light touch. This is not like sunblock. I'm just trying to catch any extra rust or anything with that little bit of oil and keep it clean. And here's where that needle nose bottle comes in. I'm going to grease all the parts here Give them a little jiggle, make sure that they can move around. I'm not coating it too excessively, just all the moving parts, all the springs, so that they sit nicely, move nicely, and nothing's trapped amongst them. And if this is your first time taking your lock off, the way that you actually get the cock to move is by pushing that lever with your thumb, as I have here, and that'll actually lift it off of the little catches within the tumbler, and that'll actually allow it to snap shut as well as go to full cock and half cock. And while you're at it, I usually like to give the trigger a little squirt too. And there you go. Job done. Just reverse your steps to get the lock back on the musket. Make sure that the lock is at half cock and that your trigger isn't sat at a pulled position, but rather ready to fire, and just push it right back into place. It'll find its way. Then you take those screws, screw them back in, and you're good to go. And of course, as your very, very last step, give your musket a snap. Make sure the pieces that you've put together actually work. And there you have it. You've cleaned your musket, you're ready for your next event.